Hi, welcome to the Living in Partnership with Spirit show. My name is Ingrid Turner. I am so thrilled to be here with you today. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm really excited about today's show. We have on Miss Monika Carless. Monika is so impressive to me because she's an author, so she writes fiction. But what I love about what she does is she writes fiction, but it's channeling other deities, it's channeling other dimensions, and she's bringing it out into the world in the form of these fantastic stories and bringing spiritual messages across in that way. So she's going to be coming on later and talking to us. Well, actually, what she's going to be doing is channeling one of her guides, which is also one of her characters in one of her books. I feel really excited about this. This feels like, oh, I need to hear this. It feels like warm. It feels really good. So I have no idea what she's going to say. I don't think she knows what she's going to say, but that's okay. That's the fun of channeling, right? All right. So if you don't know me, I am a spiritual medium, and that means that I use the modalities of psychic intuition and mediumship to express the divine. And I do this by acting as your channel. You could book time with me, you can book a reading with me, or I help you connect directly to the infinite. And I do that through my nonprofit spiritual organization called Bhava Spiritual Mission, which you can find online, bhavamission.com. Sorry, bhavamission.org. It's a nonprofit organization. So used to saying .coms, right? Before we get started, I want to talk to you about my friend Ian Morris and his company, Listening to Smile. And the reason I want to do that is because A, Ian is a great friend of mine. B, he's doing amazing work. And C, he's a supporter of this show. Thank you, Ian. He believes in what we have going on here and our community. And that just feels like freaking amazing. So his company, Listening to Smile, is a sound healing frequency organization. So he puts out sound frequency music. He does this two ways. First of all, you can purchase his tracks individually or albums, but you can only do this till December 10th. Okay, so there's more details on that, which I'll share into the group later on. But you could also join his affiliate program. His affiliate program is really exciting because if you're interested in doing spiritual work, this is a really easy way to get into it. He helps you facilitate your own sound healing meditations. And I know some of you out there, some of you, the listeners out there, have actually contacted him and joined in with his affiliate program. So I would love to hear back from you and let me know how that goes, because the more feedback I get, the better I can talk about it. And before I let you go on that front, I just want to share a little visual with you for Ian. So here it is. You can get a deal on his tracks using the code Ingrid Turner, INGRIDTURNER, no space, and go to his website, listeningtosmile.com, to look at his affiliate program and check that out and see if that's of interest to you. All right, listeningtosmile.com. Okay, so today I'm going to talk a little bit, and then I'm going to bring our fabulous Monika on and do a little interview with her so that we can connect and get to know her a little bit. And then I'm going to exit the stage, and she's going to show up and she's going to do a channeling for us. And you know what? As I'm talking about her channeling, my crown is starting to tingle up here. It's going boop, 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 boop. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Okay, seriously, can't wait. So what I want to talk about today is your shadow work, which is sort of an unpopular topic in the law of attraction community. But I want to talk about your shadow and how that relates to law of attraction or manifesting. Something that you'll, one of the things that people who are sort of have a surface level understanding of the law of attraction believe is, well, if you just think good thoughts, good things will happen. Or if you don't think about the bad stuff, then it won't happen. That's actually true. If you are able to keep your thoughts completely positive and keep your emotions positive and light, and you are able to ignore the negativity and ignore the things that you don't want completely, your life will be 100% positive, on track, and A-okay. But here's the thing, most of us are not able to do that. And it's because we have our shit that we're dealing with. And we have that because we're human and we're here to experience the whole spectrum of emotions, light and dark and everything in between. So here's what happens. As we start to do the work of the manifesting work and the law of attraction work, we start to feel good. We start to change our thinking. Okay, it's happening. I'm doing the work. And then people get, bam, they get hit with something. So they will blow up in their lives, which causes them to start to react and respond in old ways or think those negative thoughts. And they get into the space of trying not to think about the bad things because they only got to think about the good things. Like, if I just think about the good things, then good things will happen. Why is this not working? I'm only thinking about the good things. Why isn't it working? I'm doing all the work. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. And what's happening is they're getting into the trap of resisting the resistance. The law of attraction is not really it's not about stopping anything. It's about a flow. It's about releasing resistance from your life. And if you have stuff in there that wants to come up and needs to come up and needs to be expressed and purged and understood and healed and then released, that's going to come up in the process of your manifesting, in the process of your law of attraction work. And there's a lot of different flavors of accessing the law of attraction work, which I'm not really covering right here. But what I really want to talk about is when the shit hits the fan, when you've been doing really good spiritual work and you're like, I've been doing what they told me to do, I've been doing it right. You have been doing it right. And that stuff that's coming up, the stuff that's falling apart in your life, the clashes with people you love, the job loss, the home change, all this stuff that comes up. Whoa, my life just exploded in my face. Why did that happen? It happened because you made that commitment to spirit, to live a higher expression, to live in a deeper vibratory stance. And when you make that commitment, whether you're following the law of attraction work, sort of the standard Abraham Hicks, or, you watch The Secret and you're like, okay, this is how you do it. You are doing the work and you're doing it right and you're doing great. And that's why this stuff shows up for you. Not everybody. In fact, I would venture to say very few people are able to just only think good thoughts. Truly, because it's not just your conscious thoughts, it's your unconscious thoughts. Your thoughts are not, you are able to change your thoughts. You are able to change your feelings. You're able to do all of that. It takes some courage and it takes consistency. And it just takes practice, practice, practice. Practice is kind of boring. We just kind of want to be like, okay, I'm thinking good thoughts now. I want good things to happen to me. And it will happen to you. And the more that you practice this, the more that your life will transform and change. But what I urge you to do is when your shadow stuff comes up, when that difficulty comes up, when your life starts to implode after you've been doing all the good work, you've been doing it right, that little kid inside of us goes, that's not fair. I did it right. I did what I was supposed to do. And it feels really bad and it feels really awful. That's part of the shadow stuff coming up too. So when this stuff comes up, when you've been doing that good spiritual work, you've been meditating, you've been visualizing, you've been really focusing on changing your thoughts and changing your feelings, changing your outlook, changing your thinking, it is changing. And what it's doing is it's cracking open and allowing this long buried garbage to come to the surface, because you can't do a thing with it until you shine a flashlight on it. But when you shine a flashlight on it, it goes away. And here's how you deal with that. Here's how you really look at that. You feel your feelings. You remove yourself from the hamster wheel of resistance by feeling your feelings completely. All the darkness, all the sadness, all the angst, all the fear, all the anger, all the rage, everything that comes up as it comes up, let it bubble up and let yourself sink deeper and deeper and deeper into the feeling of that shadow place. And then once you get to the bottom of that, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You're going to fall in love with it and you're going to fall in love with you. And that's releasing the resistance right there. When you start to really accept this is a part of me and my experience and a part of what is coming up for me. And it's a part of your spiritual work. It's a part of your spirituality. It's a part of you as a spiritual human being. So keep working through it and release judgment. That's the biggest and hardest thing for people to do, is to release self-judgment. If shame is something that you find coming up, you feel ashamed about something, that's very much, that's very much about judgment of self. What it really is taking on the judgments of other people. The judgments of other people, they're nonsense. They have nothing to do with you. But we take that on because we are so afraid of our own power. We are so afraid of who we are in our own right, that we very quickly take on other people's negative perceptions of us as our own. And we only do that because when we really start to feel or sense how powerful our God self is, our divinity is, it scares the living hell out of us. Because if we can do anything, that means we're ultimately responsible for everything, absolutely everything that's happening in our lives and happening around us. And that takes us back to the real essence of the law of attraction, of manifesting, is responsibility. And it's not about blame. It's not about being your fault. It's about responsibility for your energy. And to be responsible for your energy, you get to go into that shadow place and you get to purge it and you get to bring it out and you get to totally change it and transform it. That's the power of responsibility right there. Transformation. Because you transform the inside, you transform the shadow, you feel the hell out of it, and everything starts to change on the outside. So if life is falling to pieces right now, you're doing great. You're doing really well. Do two things for me, okay? Release self-judgment. It's not personal. It's just human gunk, and it's asking to come up so that you can release, and get out of that resistance mode. And second, feel the hell out of it. I mean, really feel it. Close the door, lock it, cry, wail, weep, scream, punch a pillow, stomp the floor, whatever you need to do to feel those feelings and move them through your body. Move them through your body. It only takes 10 minutes for an emotion to run through your body, but you have to really, really feel it. If you resist it, if you put it at bay, it won't be able to run through you, and you won't be able to experience it completely. And when you experience it completely and get to the bottom of that, that's where the magic is, right there. That's the magic stuff. And that's when things will start to break open, and you'll see your life radically begin to change as a result of doing this incredible work. Okay, it's 11:11 Pacific Standard Time. So that is my cue to wrap up my little spiel here. And if you have any questions about what I said and you're listening in the Living in Partnership with Spirit group, I encourage you to leave a comment on our Facebook page. We will get to Q&A at the end of our me and Monika's little segment here. And if you're listening out on the airwaves or on the different channels post-show, I encourage you to join the Living in Partnership with Spirit group so that you can interact with us live, because we want to hear your questions. We want to hear your comments. We want to know how you're doing, what you're thinking, and giving us feedback, because it's how we feel loved. So without further ado, I'm bringing on Monika Carless. Monika, you're on a split screen with me. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming on and joining me today. I'm so happy you are here.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited as well. And I feel like I always learn so much from you, and thank you for having me on.
Oh, thank you.
I feel that what you were talking about kind of segues into what I'm going to be speaking about, which...
Of course it does.
So I just wanted to say who I am initially. I live on Vancouver Island in Canada, and interesting to live on an island is a very different energy than living on the mainland, and I highly recommend it. I just wanted to say that if you have a specific place that you are drawn to on the planet, it's just coming through from Aiden, is that to kind of check out what's happening spiritual and energetically in that space. Like maybe you might not be living there, but let's say you live in Missouri and you're attracted to Botswana. Check it out, because there's a reason why you're attracted to that energy, and there's something spiritually, energetically happening there within the ley lines of the planet. So that's just one little...
Oh,
if I start...
teaser. Oh, God. See, I knew this was going to be good. I got that. Oh, yes, I needed that. That's perfect for Ingrid. Anyway, before I give you the stage, I talked a little bit about what you do, but I want to make sure I really did it justice. That you're being an author and writing fiction novels, but in reality, it's channeling dimensions and beings in your own guides as they tell you stories that give you spiritual information to put out into the world. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that's so fascinating, and I want to hear it from your mouth.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, yes, it's really the way that I teach in the world, and how I spread a message of unconditional love is through fiction. And I feel that it's a really amazing way to reach a wide audience, because people are attracted to stories, they're comforting, and there's something that ground us. And it's a place that we can go to when our life doesn't make any sense. And so for me, the written word and fiction is a nice way to just express spirit and express what's happening out there, and bring it, just channel it, funnel it, onto a piece of paper, something that somebody can hold and say, yes, I understand this message. It's making sense to me. And maybe if you said it to them in a nonfiction way, it would be too abrasive. It would be something that they couldn't absorb. So that's kind of how I do it. And I'm just back from Kauai, which is like the energetic imprint of Lemuria on the planet. And it's where I first met my guide, Aiden, and where he talked to me about writing fiction as a way of transmitting spirit. And he's also my masculine grounding energy, like to my feminine side. He keeps me, in my masculine and keeping myself grounded. Otherwise, I'd be like, all over the place. So yeah, and it's like he also taught me about not allowing energies in that I didn't find pleasing. Like, I'm open to spirits or people who have passed on, but if I open the door wide open, then everybody's coming in. It's like, it's a big party, and I have to keep on saying no. Mm-hmm. We are not open for business 24/7. So yeah, so that's what I do, and I really grateful that I have been given this way of channeling spirit.
Me too. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to bow out and I'm going to let you take the stage and do Channel Aiden for us. All right.
Thank you. I'm just going to light a little bit of Palo Santo, which I have just done, and I'm just going to smudge a little bit of the space between us, just so I can bring you in closer to my energy and bring my energy closer to yours as well. And welcome. I'm very excited to be here. It's a little bit of a scary space for me because I'm used to channeling through my pen. And if you see me scribbling on my little piece of paper, it's just a way of me to ground myself and not go off into the stratosphere. So I just wanted to say that there's a few things I wanted to talk about, but Aiden is here and he says, things I wanted to talk about, we'll talk about another day. He's so cheeky. Anyway, what he would like to touch on is about the fragmented frequency that sometimes humans express on the planet, and the space that we live in that is so fragmented because we kind of suffer from anxiety or depression, and we kind of feel lost. And he calls that the dissonance from self. And he says that what happens is when we are born and when the placenta is kind of taken away from our face and we are free of the placenta, that is when the veil is kind of lifted from the spirit world into the human world, and we are become very aware of our humanity. And as we kind of go through our life and we start to identify with the mind and with the ego, which are very, very important elements of our life on the planet, we start to feel this hunger and this ache. And we can't always place our finger on what that is and why we are feeling anxiety and why we don't feel whole. And so what he says is that, like, for instance, our ego and our mind are hardwiring. It's like the computer. This is how we're wired, to have a mind and an ego, because obviously we have to survive on this planet. If we just came in as spirits and all of a sudden we're in a physical body, and now there's like lions and tigers and other influences, weather influences, and we need to be safe on the planet. So therefore we need to be able to think our way out of danger and our way out of different situations, and we need our ego to help us ascertain what danger is. And it's just like our survival mechanism on the planet. So sometimes people say, oh, you need to get rid of your mind or you need to get rid of your ego, but you can't. How would you survive this planet? So do you know that saying when people say, I think, therefore I am? It's a famous quote by Descartes, and I think it's a really misleading philosophy, because you are not your mind. But as we grow, we start to identify with our mind and our ego as the self. And this just couldn't be further from the truth. It is definitely not who we are. But when we are identified with our mind and our ego in a very strong way, we start beginning to look for ourselves in others. So we start to look for love or approval, or we seek possessions, anything that will kind of fill the void that we feel, because we don't really understand what that void is. But if we were not in that void as well, like if we didn't have the dissonance from self, we also couldn't learn what we needed to learn while we're here on the planet. So what he's saying right now is, how can we drop into the awareness of ourself, our spiritual self, without dropping into any kind of an addiction, using something, so that, like, whatever we use shopping, or we use love relationships, or whatever it is that we're using, or food, to help us fill the void when we have the dissonance from self. How can we get around that? And one of the best ways that I know is to remind ourselves of our creative self, that we are a creative being. That whole thing that created the universe, that's us, and we are that creative spirit. And so one of the best cures for anxiety and depression and the dissonance from self is to actually be out of our mind and connect with the frequency of our creativity. And that's why art and words and music and dance and nature and sports, that's why all those things help us to feel whole, because that's when we are clearly out of our mind and we are really connected with our creative essence. And then when we are in that space, like for instance, if you're really into a really amazing song and you're singing it or you're dancing to it, and you're all of a sudden in that, you've dropped into that place where you are just basically yourself, and you're not your mind and you're not your ego. And so one thing that I'd like to do with you is to just stop for a minute and just breathe together. And Aiden is holding the space for the divine feminine and for the masculine, because really they are one thing. And he's saying, another further thing that he's saying is that the divine feminine, all women on the planet are held in a very specific matrix, a very specific energy matrix together. And the more we support each other and the more that we love each other and support each other in our work as women on the planet, the more that matrix is strengthened and the more we can bring back the essence of the great mother and the great feminine, and it'll heal the planet as well. So the one thing that we can do to really create a feeling of connection with ourselves as we were in spirit before we arrived to the planet is to say the words I am. And those are really the healing words. Everything is in those two words. Everything that has ever been, everything that has ever been incarnated, all your incarnations, all your personal lifetime incarnations, all of consciousness are embedded into those two words, I am. So when you are feeling dissonant with yourself, when you feel like the mind is taking over or the ego is taking over, all you need to do is say the words I am and begin there. Understand yourself as I am, and always go back to that when you're feeling that ache, when you feel that, that awareness that you are separate from who you were when you were on the other side. Just go back to I am. And if you say it long enough and you practice it long enough, you will start to understand that, and that in that silence, in that I am, that is all. That is everything that there ever was is there. And you are whole. And you don't need to feel that disconnect of who you are as a spiritual being and who you are as a human being, which is basically, what you're here to do is to have a human experience as a spiritual being. And I'm not sure if I conveyed all of that in a legible way, but that is a message for today.
You absolutely conveyed that in a legible way. That was beautiful. Thank you, Monika.
Thank you.
I know that's not your super comfortable space. You just like give it a pet and I'll be fine. But that was really beautiful, and it was very calming, I should say. It was really calming. And you're right, it did segue beautifully into what I was talking about. And you and I didn't particularly connect on that at all, because I was like,
No.
feeling no idea what's coming, okay? Which I'm fine with, but that's wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on and for connecting with us. I'm checking questions on the on our video in our group, the Living in Partnership with Spirit group, and I don't have any questions. Karen wants you to know that she loves that island, Kauai. And then we had a really interesting comment from a Jim, and I'll just read this because I think it's amazing. And it goes in a little bit of a different direction, but I want to take a minute to just talk about it because it's really good. He said, last week I emotionally went down, then all of a sudden I felt and remembered all the horrible things I have done to others in my life. I then spent a couple hours doing Ho'oponopono. I now feel better, but realize that those past events are still there. Do you know Ho'oponopono? Yeah, with that. I love that practice. And because Jim brought it up, and it is so powerful, and it is an amazing way to work with the shadow stuff and the ego stuff as it comes up, because Jim, not to make trivial your feelings, but the truth is we don't have any power to harm other people with our words and with our, we don't really have that power. It's other people coming in and dealing with their own stuff to be healed. I mean, it's not the same with like physical, taking an axe to somebody. Yeah, you do that, but when it comes to that emotional, that kind of thing, we don't really have that power. And so it's about people's stuff coming up, their own stuff coming up to be healed when we mirror it back to them. And you were talking, I feel like we both touched on that, Monica, with, the ego self and taking on other people's beliefs and other people's opinions. But if you don't know what the Ho'oponopono is, it's a Hawaiian, my understanding is it's a practice from Hawaii. And it's simply, the premise is very simple, is you heal yourself to heal the world. And we've been hearing this a lot in our, in our spiritual circles. It's like, you have to start here. You have to start here. And before you could do anything out here, and really healing self in here, this is the message I get, is healing yourself on the inside is healing yourself on the outside. So Ho'oponopono is really easy. It's simply repeating to yourself an affirmation or a mantra, if you will. It is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And what it is it's taking full responsibility for your own healing and saying these words to yourself. And at the same time, because you take responsibility for your own healing, you're taking incredible responsibility for the healing of the world. And I said this before, and I'll say it again, responsibility is power. When you take responsibility, not fault, not blame, but when you take responsibility, you take that, you have incredible power behind you to make massive changes, huge, global, universal paradigm shifts. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Monica?
I really love that practice. I think it's very empowering, and it allows us to take care of what we need to take care of our darkness, without pushing it away. And there is a way through the darkness, and that I find is just a beautiful practice to take us through to the other side.
Yes, absolutely. There's a way through the darkness. All right, I'm just checking to make sure. Amanda wants to know, Monica, do you think the practice of I am is beneficial to teach our children?
Oh, yes, I do. Because I think that our children are, at a very young age, they begin to struggle with identity, and especially from about 8 years old to about 16, they're really struggling with identity because they're past the stage of only listening to their parents, and they're starting to listen to themselves. And to know that I am is for them to be extremely empowered and to know that they are their own being in their own right, not just a product of somebody's love, they're also their own specific being. So yes, I do.
Beautiful. That's great. Jim has a question for you, Monica. I've been working with my divine feminine, and I believe that the more men like me who do this helps the women expressing their power now. More of a comment, I guess. I didn't read it.
And if I could just speak to that for a second, I think that the most important work for the masculine right now is to be in support of the divine feminine. They don't actually need to do anything. They just need to be in support, because the divine feminine is coming through right now very strongly, and it's really most appreciated by the Great Mother and the divine feminine and women in general, that the masculine is just to be in support of that, and to also understand that, they are also part of the divine feminine,
Absolutely. And something, I just want to touch on that a little bit, but the interplay with the masculine and the feminine energies. And this does absolutely play out in gender, because in physical bodies, we're here expressing a particular energy a lot of the time. And I think that, that doesn't necessarily equate to, woman, feminine, man, masculine, but it often does. And for simplicity's sake, we'll just use that example right now. But the way that I have come to understand the way the masculine and the feminine work together is the feminine is meant to step up here and shine and be the leader, and the masculine is meant to come up and support. The feminine is meant to receive, and the masculine is meant to give. You have to work together. And what happens is, in our physical world, in our culture, we've got this backwards. We think that the masculine is to receive and the feminine is to give, but that's not accurate. It's the other way around. And as soon as the feminine, what we do is we start to shine in our own right and step up and step into that leadership role. And the masculine energy very naturally gravitates to be in support of that. in support of that role. So
Mm-hmm.
when you're saying
Yeah.
all we need is support,
Really,
that really is all we need. That's it.
yeah, and that's the difficult part for the feminine, is to be in receiving mode. The feminine is used to being the nurturer and the giver, but for us to really do what we need to do here is to be in receiving mode. And that is just like, for the masculine to help us to be in receiving mode is huge. It's just, you know, it's going to happen anyway. Like the feminine is rising anyway, but, and yeah. Yeah, I'm a bisexual person, so I have a very deep connection with both masculine and feminine, and really understand that it really is all one thing. Like, and the feminine at this time in particular has to really work on those deep wounds sustained through the masculine. But we got to work through it, and we got to let it go, because if we're trying to do this, but we're back here saying, oh, the masculine did this is never going to happen.
Right. But like we were talking about earlier, I feel like you have to almost go into that more deeply and then come out from the other side, which is what we're doing. Is the feminine right now is processing where all that shadow stuff is coming up, and we are processing in a major way. As I'm talking about that, my throat chakra, I just went, just did this like weird, it's like almost like filled up my throat. It was a really interesting sensation. Okay. Before I let you go, Amanda had a nice comment for you. She said, and this is referring to the I am question for children. She said, beautiful answer, love it. And I really appreciate you being here today. You have a lovely presence. Doesn't she, Amanda? She's just
thank you.
Let me make sure that we don't have any more questions. Yep, that looks like that wraps us up. So we're at 11:32 now, and we try and wrap up at about 11:30, give people the rest of their day. So Monika, thank you again for coming on and sharing your strength and your wisdom and your gift with us. Can you tell us how people can contact you if they want to poke around and go buy your books and learn more about you?
It's very easy. Just go to monikacarless.com and you'll pretty much find out anything you want to know about me there.
Awesome. And I'm going to spell your name for you. Monika and Carless, Karless. Right?
No, C-A-R.
C-A-R. C-A-R, like the car, driving the car. I was being so efficient there. Okay. All right. And then I am, if you don't know me, I am Ingrid Turner. I do channeling work, and you can look at my website. It's Ingrid H. Turner. There's an H in the middle, ingridhturner.com. Or if you're interested in learning how to hook up directly and joining a brand new spiritual organization, check out bhavamission.org, BHAVA mission.org. And if you are listening out on the airwaves after the live show and you would like to dive in and participate live, I encourage you to join the Living in Partnership with Spirit community. It's just Living in Partnership with Spirit. Pop that in a Facebook search. It'll come right up. Boom, join us. You're in. We'd love to have you. We'd love to hear your thoughts and your comments. And there's a whole lot going on in this community too, rather than just this show. We're all here and we're all talking to each other and communicating and supporting each other. So it's an amazing place if you're on that spiritual path and looking for that spiritual community. You haven't quite found that yet. And then finally, if you would like to be a spiritual messenger on this show, just like Monika was today, please get in touch with me. You go to my website, ingridhturner.com, navigate to the contact form, and then send me a message and let me know. And then let's connect and see if that's a good fit. And if you'd like to come on and speak to our community and share your wisdom with us. Okay, Monika, thank you again. Thank you all for who listened in today. Thank you for asking your questions. This is so fun and invigorating, and I love Tuesdays because I get to do the show. Monika, I love you to death. Thank you again. We'll chat.
Thank you.
All right.